The March the 11th Ascension Parish Zoning Commission is now in session. For the record, all commissioners are present with the exception of Mr. Sanji. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes from the February the 11th meeting?
Did we,
I have a question. Well, this says January 14th.
yeah, that's what I was fixing to
Brought it
ask.
to our attention.
So, okay,
It's a
so the
typo.
date's wrong.
Is it a
but
typo?
I have
It
a
is the correct
question.
information. It is the correct information.
Well, no, I have a question about whether 5A correctly reflects our actions that night on that issue. I know that on the second page, because the motions seem to be, no, this seems to be incorrect. I know that we ultimately passed that action 3-2. The second page reflects what I believe we did as a commission on the Highway 42 rezoning. This is
Right.
matter 5A, right? It says it was a substitute motion. Josh, do you recall doing that as a substitute motion? Well, then we couldn't have voted on the original motion. We voted on the substitute motion, so there should not have been a vote
Okay,
on
I
the
would
first
agree with
motion.
I would agree with that. I think it was a substitute motion.
So I had made a motion, and Donald seconded to deny
The first,
to deny it, and then you made a substitute motion
to approve it.
to approve it.
I agree with that, yes.
And then we voted on the substitute motion. So there shouldn't be a vote reflected at all in the minutes on the first motion.
I would have to go back and look at the video to see if we
Yeah,
voted, but I
you know,
agree. It doesn't sound like we would have voted on the first one.
Ricky or Lance, do you guys remember how that went down exactly? Because ultimately, it went to the council as approved 3-2, and Jackie voted as a chairman.
As the
vote.
breaker, yeah.
You remember?
I do not have a photographic memory, but I do recall there being a vote, there being discussion, and the people who were voting were saying, well, no, we were in favor of it passing. We advise you have to have a positive motion or something along that line. And so there was a substitute motion and then another vote.
Well, what I recall is that at the first go-around, Jackie voted, and as chairman shouldn't have voted until the commissioners voted. And only voted if there was a tie, right?
I voted on the second one. For clarity, Mr. Bishop asked the question, what did we just do? When we explained it, it wasn't what we thought. So there was another motion from the floor.
Could be.
There was a tiebreaker. I broke the tie.
That wasn't a
Well,
substitute.
in the first place,
Was it a failed
the,
motion and then a new motion?
there was the motion to deny in the, well, okay, maybe Jackie's explaining it right. I would suggest that we go back and look at the video. How do we go about doing that? Would that be
Y'all could
something?
just-
You
You
don't
could just
have to vote.
postpone approving the minutes
Yeah,
this
let's do
month.
that.
We'll go back and review the minutes and we'll put them on next month.
Yeah, it came before the council. I know it came before the council last Thursday in Donaldsonville, and they approved it, our action 6-2 in favor of the rezone. No? Oh, sorry. Yeah, they approved our action 6-2 in favor of the rezone, the council did. And there's now what has to happen after that, Ricky? There's a couple more meetings?
2 more meetings. They'll have an introduction of the ordinance and then a public hearing.
Okay. Well, then I move that we postpone the approval of the minutes.
Okay.
Have we
I'll
already done
second
it?
that.
I move that we postpone the approval of the minutes until we have a chance to review the,
And if it comes back like this, we'll approve it?
yeah.
There's
Okay.
a motion. It's been second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain on the minutes of the.
Any opposition? So noted. Motion approved.
Although I just want to note that I think I was correct when I said, I thought we voted the way that I thought the beginning, but Gasper thought we were voting the opposite way. So I thought from the beginning that I voted the way that I did, although Gasper thought that we had the question was the opposite than the question was. So I don't know which way it was. But I know that in the finale, I got the result that I meant.
Which you
In
leaned
the
on
end,
the,
we voted to support
Right.
the rezoning.
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
That was my tie-breaking vote.
yeah.
That being said, let's move on. Public hearing to amend Ascension Parish Development Code, ordinance DC 15-1.
Yes, we had a little discussion last month in reference to this. This is a cleaning item to the code itself. Right now, the code states underneath the zoning designations, the language that's in the development code states that commercial and non, multifamily is permitted in residential districts. And what this would do is take that language out, and it would basically be in line with what the tables state. And that's what this would do.
How did this disparity between the statutes and the tables come about? Was it drafted all together, or was there a later amendment to the tables?
There was a later amendment to the tables. And the code itself didn't reflect the changes in the tables.
From legal, what predominates on that, the tables or the code?
The code.
Okay. So the tables were amended by the council to reflect the will of the council to remove
Yeah.
multifamily dwellings from medium-intensity residential and to take all commercial development out of rural districts?
Yes, sir, correct.
So really, they did it, but they didn't do it because they didn't amend
They didn't amend the code, yes, sir, or the development code.
Further comments?
I would just like to state
right.
that if somebody read the code and it said, hey, residential medium says I can build multifamily, when they came to us, we would pull out the table and say, they don't match, so therefore one needs to be revised to allow you to do that. So I'm not going to say that one supersedes the other, but if they don't match, you don't get to do it.
And I do want to clarify what I said. I really, in this situation, it's going to be about recency. So the most recent amendment to the code, we always have that little caveat at the end that if something is in conflict existing, that we repeal that. So that would be my opinion. If the code was amended last, then, or if the table was amended last, then that would be the one we would go with.
Okay. So we need, the recommendation is just to bring the code in line with the amendments
To the tables, correct, yes, sir.
Did the amendments from the table come from the zoning commission, or was that something the council started on their own?
The commission did that, and the staff also, we did that.
That's actually a funny story. We had somebody apply, because there used to be a piece of the code that said you can do a commercial business in a residential zoning up to 1,500 square feet. Somebody applied to do a drive-through grocery store that was going to sell alcohol that was 1,400 square feet, right in front of a subdivision. Ultimately, that didn't happen, but at that point, we went in and revised the table and removed all commercial from all residential zoning categories and said, if you want to do commercial, be commercial. And we revised the home occupation standards a little bit, but we basically said, we're not allowing these commercial ventures in residential anymore.
Yeah, that wasn't the intention of the code.
Okay.
This time we need to open the floor for public hearing. There are no comments. At this time, we need to close the floor for public hearing. Can I get a motion?
I'll move that we recommend approval to the council
Is there a motion?
for
Can I
this
get a second?
change.
Then I'll second.
Is there a motion and a second? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
So noted, no opposition. The motion passes. Staff report.
No, sir.
Do you have any, is this the last packet we're going to get, the last hard copy?
So there's good news and there's bad news.
can't go on my Surface. Got the bad news?
We did a lot of work to create this really cool iBook that anyone in the world can go to the Apple bookstore and download the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code. It works like any book that you would download into your library. And when faced with the hill of putting that book onto a non-Apple device, that is an insurmountable hill because we're not recreating that book. Apparently, Apple does not like to share their iBook with other devices that use ebooks. So in order to do that, we'd have to recreate the book again. So it is our intention to continue to keep the iBook up to date online, because that's the version we'll be using as long as we're using iPads. We're going to continue to keep that version of the code up to date online, and anyone that wants to keep that book, we're going to continue to do the hard copy handouts for any code changes. Those will still come once a year. The updates will be done as they're made by the council.
So I gave my wife my iPad, I'm gonna have to get it back from her now?
If you want our fancy iBook, yes.
Okay.
Or you can try to read it on your phone.
Okay, thanks, Ricky.
Yes, sir.
No further comments from staff? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
I'll second.
Adjournment.
6:30.